everyone. So I wanted to make a video talking about how how important it is to include evidence in your op-ed. In anything really, but particularly in your op-ed. So I created the start of one. Um, it has my introduction, and then what I'm really looking at right now is the body paragraphs, and then pretend that there's more. I have my works cited here, and this is important because I'm going to refer back to the works cited. It is on a totally separate page. They are in alphabetical order according to the first words that's there. This is how I cite depending on what the first word is there. But so this is talking about school start times. So I'm going to start with the body paragraphs. Research already points in this direction. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends that middle and high school students start at 8:30 or later because teenagers' biological sleep cycle makes it difficult for them to fall asleep early. That's my first piece of evidence. I'm going to highlight it so I can show you. Please, please, please do not highlight your paper. Please don't highlight it. You can do it in as you're working and then just erase all of those highlights as you go. But so I have evidence here to point in this direction that early school start times are hurting students. Okay, so I have evidence, and then I explain it a little bit. In other words, students aren't lazy, they're just wired differently. When schools ignore that, they set students up to fail. And yet many students start well before that recommended time. This is something that I would need evidence for because I'm giving a statement as if it's true. Many schools start well before that recommended time. I'm making a claim, I'm making an argument, but I haven't proven that yet. I'm just throwing it out there as like, hey, this is true. Please believe me. So I need specific evidence to support that. And the type of evidence I would want there is perhaps the percentage of schools who start before 8:30. I could even give personal experience. If I'm like, oh, I can't find anything that has to do with that, I might think about the schools in my area. So for the schools in my area, I can look into it and figure out what schools are there, and then I would need to cite those. But regardless, I need to have evidence. I need to have something to back it up. Then it continues. That disconnect has real consequences. Lack of sleep has been linked to lower academic performance, increased absenteeism, and even higher rates of depression among teenagers. One study found that students who get less than 8 hours of sleep are significantly more likely to struggle in school. Wheaton. And that goes along with the first word here. As a reminder, this goes along because there is no author. It goes on with the title. But I have evidence here, which is great, but I don't explain it after the fact. I don't talk about the significance of that, of how people struggle. It would be great to go into more detail of what that struggle means. What does that look like? What is it that entails? So I could go deeper into the explanation here. And then this topic sentence talks about three different things. Lack of sleep has been linked to lower academic performance. That's one. Increased absenteeism. That's another. And higher rates of depression. Three different things. But I only talk about one of them. But that's okay because, op-eds where you would normally have a long paragraph is broken into smaller paragraphs. So the next part after the impact goes beyond grades, this should be about absenteeism, meaning not coming to school often. But that's not what this is about. This is taking up another point. So I throw this out here as like, oh, lack of sleep has these issues, but I only talk about one of them and I only talk about it a little bit. So I need to expand upon this. And then my next section, if I wanted to keep this, but the impact goes beyond grades, I would need to have I would need to talk about what absenteeism is. And then I would probably want to give some statistics on absenteeism, citing my source, using evidence. And then my next section would be about depression. So I have to look at what are the claims that I'm making? What are the arguments that I'm making? And do I have evidence to back that up? So you need 3 sources. Right now, I only have 2 because that's what it is that I cited. If I were to continue this, I'm not going to, but if I were, I would need at least 1 more source. You can have more than 1 or more than 3. Totally fine. Okay. Have more if you need more because the sources that you have don't cover all of the claims that you have. That's totally fine. But you do need to have evidence to support what you're saying. You need to cite that evidence and it needs to be reflected in your works cited. Anything that is in your works cited. So let's say I had these 2, and I'm going to pretend there was 1 more source here. If I have these 2, these need to be cited up here. So if this wasn't here and this wasn't here, yes, there's evidence, but I haven't cited where I've gotten that from. So as a reader, I have no idea what information came from which source. So it's very, very important that every single source that you use and have listed in the works cited, you also have an in-text citation for. It can be a parenthetical citation like this. It can be a narrative citation. So instead of in the parentheses, I could have said, one study by Wheaton et al. Found that blah, 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 blah. If I have a narrative citation, meaning I say it in while I'm talking or while I'm writing, you don't need the parenthetical citation. But you do need to cite your source, even if you're paraphrasing. If it's a paraphrase, cite your source. If you are quoting, cite your source. If you have any questions, please let me know. Please don't forget that your final draft is due Tuesday by midnight. If you have any questions on anything, please, please, please let me know.